Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and today we've got a lot to talk about, really, just in terms of EuroBasket 2025 and what we've got going on there. There's been several games that have taken place since last episode, so we're going to break it all down here. And my apologies if there's any audio issues. We're in a little bit of a different setting today. I actually traveled up to Oxford, Mississippi to catch some college football because we've got that going on now. So with football back, that means basketball is right around the corner. So certainly got a lot to cover because of that. So we're going to start with Kristaps Porzingis, who bounced back with a huge performance in his second EuroBasket outing and then followed it up with a thrilling clash against the three-time MVP Nikola Jokic and Serbia. Then we're going to turn our heads to Krejci, who is struggling. It's been a rough EuroBasket for our lovable Vite. He's battling an uneven tournament, and the Czech Republic is certainly not the most stacked roster, but nonetheless he's trying. So we're gonna break down his struggles here, and then finally we're gonna close by checking in on last year's number one overall pick, Zachary Risacher. He's been killing it, and I can't wait to get to that because he has just been awesome. And seeing his growth really before his second NBA season is huge. I mean, France is undefeated so far, and is actually in action as we speak during the recording of this episode. So without further ado, let's get right into it and talk about how Kristaps Porzingis entered EuroBasket under a microscope. After a tough first game against Turkey where his shot wasn't falling and turnovers piled up, the Latvian big man silenced any doubts with a follow-up dominant performance against Estonia. A lot of people were watching KP, with the intent of, him not, imagining that he won't be back into that form that we all know KP for. But he ended up in that second game, after a pretty bad first game, he finished with 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 blocks, and he shot a perfect 8 for 8 from inside the arc, which is, what ended up aiding in the narrow win against Estonia. Latvia hasn't been dominant in any of these games by any means, but they've been hanging in there. The games have been pretty close. So that was a good win. I mean, at the beginning, it wasn't smooth sailing, not at all. Estonia ended up throwing aggressive double teams at Porzingis in the post, which, I mean, KP is always the tallest player on the court in EuroBasket in all these games that he's played so far. So you certainly need to double in the paint, especially when you've got these guys in EuroBasket that aren't too big. They're hoping to speed him up and force mistakes because he has been very turnover prone in these select few games. It worked briefly. He committed 3 quick turnovers in the opening quarter, which wasn't very good, but once he adjusted, the Estonian defense simply had no answers for the versatile big man who's about to be an Atlanta Hawk. Using his unique blend of guard-like skills as a big, crafty post work, 3-level scoring ability. It's what makes KP a special player, but he controlled the paint inside and out of the paint. I mean, his outside shot still isn't falling, which is really a little concerning, but, getting these clean looks, and he's always going to get these clean looks in an Atlanta offense, so it's not anything to worry about. He's playing within the flow of the offense, and the shots will start falling with more efficiency. So for Hawks fans, like I said, kind of, in the last episode where we talked about KP, the key takeaway isn't his stat line. I mean, it's the fact that he looked physically healthy again. Remember, I mean, he struggled with that illness during last year's playoffs, which ended up kind of resulting in his departure from Boston and then coming to Atlanta. He admitted to feeling exhausted after just 11 minutes of game action. So Boston was a little tired of him, and I think they just both needed a new, a change of scenery. But I mean, that version of Porzingis was clearly limited, and he wasn't playing to all of his strengths. The version that we're kind of seeing through EuroBasket right now, he looks more refreshed. I mean, he looks more confident on the court, and most importantly, he looks fit. He looks healthy, which it's great to see. So while the game was a little closer than we expected, Estonia has no NBA talent, so I certainly expected Latvia to kind of not necessarily blow them out, but just not as close of a game as it was. Porzingis ended up proving that he could still dominate as one of the most versatile bigs in the world. So the very next day, actually, Latvia faced a major test, and probably their most difficult test so far. They took on the 3-time MVP Nikola Jokic in a stacked Serbian roster. This matchup had all the makings of a EuroBasket classic, and it seriously did not disappoint. It was a very entertaining game. Definitely one of my favorite games I've watched so far in this EuroBasket tournament. Latvia ultimately fell 80-84, so they did lose this game, but it was very close. They almost pulled off an incredible comeback in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was looking like Serbia was really about to pull away, but Latvia just stayed in there. And Porzingis definitely had a choir night statistically. It wasn't what he did the day before, especially from deep, where once again he went 0 for 4. So he is. This EuroBasket, he's really struggling with that deep ball. Again, we know how great he can be as a three-point shooter, and the looks that he's going to get in a Trae Young-led offense are going to be so much better than the looks that he gets in Latvia, where he is really facilitating as the number one offensive option. It's this another poor shooting performance from the outside. It extended his cold streak. He's actually 0 for 12 from 3 in this tournament, so definitely not what you want to see, but I think he'll get out of it pretty soon. They actually play tomorrow. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later, but still though, I mean, KP makes his presence felt in less traditional ways. When that shot is not falling, he is still a very effective player, especially defensively. I mean, he held his own against Jokic. He played him pretty solid. He contested his shots inside, switching effectively on the smaller players, not getting blown by, even blocking a critical three-point attempt late in the game. I mean, he showcased his passing vision from the post, sparking Latvia's late rally, which, almost got them that comeback win. It wasn't enough, but they got right there. He has he had a perfectly timed assist after drawing an extra defender. Just really looking like the guy that we know and we need for next season in Atlanta. Fatigue was definitely a factor for KP. I mean, Latvia's been playing a lot. This was actually the second night of a back-to-back. Porzingis looked a little winded in the second half, which is not something we really like to see. But, I mean, he actually even required a substitution with just 5 minutes left. And he even ended up getting back, but he needed that little rest. And honestly, you can't take this with too much, you can't take this with too much weight just because, I mean, KP didn't play a whole lot of back-to-backs last year in Boston, and certainly I don't expect him to play a lot of back-to-backs in Atlanta this upcoming season. The Hawks front office and coaching staff need to be smart with how they manage him on back-to-backs because, he looked pretty winded, and that's not something, I mean, at his age and his injury history, I'm not surprised. But nonetheless, getting him back into NBA shape, and then after EuroBasket training camp coming around, he'll certainly look a little more fit. But even then, even while he looked a little winded in that second half, the biggest theme of this tournament so far is that he has looked healthy and he has looked fit. So I wouldn't take this one half, with too much weight. Atlanta is going to choose to manage his workload very smart in the back-to-backs during the NBA season. If this trend continues, it's certainly something to watch. But overall, I mean, his performance was encouraging in last game against Nikola Jokic in Serbia. He didn't score heavily, but he showed that he can still influence games through his defense. I mean, he is that defensive anchor that he was really drafted to New York for. I mean, that was kind of his thing. He became a very elite offensive player once he hit the NBA, but his main attribute has always been his defense and his shot blocking. I mean, the playmaking and sheer presence of KP make for a wide open offense. The three-point shooting slump is certainly a storyline to watch, and we will be watching that closely and talking about it here on Hawks Latest. But given his career track record, it's reasonable to expect significant improvement once he settles into EuroBasket and then completely be ready for the NBA season. Because we need him to be a deep ball threat. I mean, those pick and pops with Trae Young are going to be lethal if KP is knocking down at a over 38% rate, because he'll probably be taking like 7 threes a game. It's going to be something ridiculous. All these guys are going to have great shooting volume. All these 40% career three-point shooters come into play with Trae Young. It's going to be super fun to watch. I can't wait for the season to get started. We're actually, I think we're like 52 days away from opening night, and 30-something days away from the preseason opener against the Houston Rockets. So it's right there, guys. Now, shifting to Krejci in the Czech Republic. It has certainly been pretty interesting watching the Czech Republic because things have been much tougher. And this is a Hawk that's playing in a very different role than what his role is in the NBA. They've now dropped multiple winnable games. Krejci has been at the center of both the positives and the negatives. because he is the number one option on offense and really on defense for the Czech Republic. So against Estonia, the Czechs fell behind in the second quarter after allowing an 18-point halftime deficit. Certainly not a good way to start the game. It was fueled by turnovers and some defensive lapses, but the team finished the half with 10 turnovers while forcing none. Is an imbalance that simply can't happen at this level, with this elite competition. Krejci actually led the team in scoring during the first half, dropping 10 points on 57% shooting. This marked the second time in 3 games that Vít has been Czech's leading scorer before halftime, and that's not surprising considering the role he is playing. He's the only NBA talent that is playing in this tournament for Czech. But unfortunately, like in earlier games, he disappeared after the break, going scoreless in the second half. Certainly not something you want to see, and it's not something that provides much optimism for Hawks fans, as, Vít might actually be our backup point guard next year. So shooting continues to be a real concern for Vít. We know what he can be. We know how he can play in NBA action. He shot 43% from deep last year, but entering the game, Krejci was just 1 for 10 from 3 in that tournament, so he finally made one against Estonia, and he celebrated to show his relief. I mean, he was grateful for that 3. But for a player who has hit over 40% of his threes with the Hawks over the last 2 years, the slump is a little puzzling. I mean, we figured that would at least be something that Vít could at least carry over in EuroBasket, but it doesn't really look like it. Defensively, Czech has been exposed inside with little rim protection and limited size. Opponents are really feasting in the paint and on second chance opportunities. So if you combine that with their turnover issues and real inconsistent outside shooting, you have a recipe for lopsided losses. And that's something that the Czech Republic has been experiencing a whole lot. So Czech's next game is not going to get any easier. They're going to face who KP and Latvia just faced, Serbia and the 3-time MVP Nikola Jokic, the best player in the world. For Krejci, the focus needs to be on that consistency. He's proven he can contribute in stretches, but he needs to sustain it for full games. If the Czech Republic is going to avoid a winless tournament, that would not be good. And certainly, keeping up with him and watching these games closely, it hasn't been really fun. I've enjoyed keeping up with Kristaps Porzingis and who we're about to talk about, Zach Risacher. But those V games have not been super fun to watch closely. So finally, let's check in on who I just mentioned, Zach Risacher. The player that Hawks fans are perhaps the most excited about in this stretch of games. So at the time of this recording, and by the time this video is put out, Risacher and France are actually currently playing Israel in Deni Avdia. So pretty high-stakes matchup. It's actually their third group stage game. And by the time this video is put out, this game will probably be over. So we're going to have the full breakdown of that in next episode. So my apologies in advance. But Risacher has been a very bright spot in both victories. France is 2-0 in EuroBasket play. And if you count the preliminary exhibition games that took place before the tournament actually started, France is 6-0. So in his last outing, he faced Luka Doncic in Slovenia, a very, very high-stakes matchup. I mean, that's one of the best players in the world. Doncic was spectacular in stretches. He actually finished with 39 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists, but Risacher held his own. And in the limited action we saw with Risacher guarding Doncic, he did a pretty good job. Zach scored 12 points in just 11 minutes, including 4 made threes. But more importantly, he flashed defensive upside, like I said, by forcing Doncic actually to a rare air ball on a contested fadeaway. That was pretty funny. The game itself did turn tense late. France sealed the win behind Sylvian Francisco's 32-point performance. So while Risacher was great on both ends, he was the real MVP for France that day. I mean, the ending did spark controversy, the ending of that game, when Francisco scored an uncontested layup after Slovenia had essentially conceded. Luka Doncic went up to Francisco and went up to dap him up, and then he dapped him up, and then after that he went up for a layup, and Slovenia took offense to that. But look, I mean, in tournament play, point differential can decide tiebreakers, and point differential always matters in these tournaments. It's kind of similar to the NBA Cup, but in EuroBasket, point differential is very important. And so Slovenia should have been prepared. There's been a lot of complaining from people that are watching closely for Luka Doncic, but it's you've got to be prepared for that. The coaches have got to let these guys know that you play until the final whistle, because this is something that actually matters. For Risacher, the next step is just consistency. He's averaging around 15 minutes per game and producing efficiently in that time, but his challenge is going to be to stay engaged even when the ball isn't in his hands, just working off ball. That's always been a strength of his, but I haven't seen a whole lot of it in EuroBasket, but nonetheless, he's showing the flashes that we need to see. His growth as a player is going to be crucial as he transitions, to his second season in the NBA, where, playing off stars like Trae Young and Jalen Johnson and Kristaps Porzingis are going to require adaptability. So far, though, Hawks fans should be thrilled. Risacher has been killing it. He looks confident, skilled, and ready to contribute immediately in his second year. So to wrap it up, EuroBasket has been an early showcase of what Hawks fans could be expecting next season. It's going to be a very exciting season. Kristaps Porzingis looks healthy again, and while that three ball isn't falling, he has looked pretty dominant on both ends of the floor. Vit Krejci's really struggling, but we believe in Vit. We know what he can do on an NBA floor, but he continues to battle every night and lead the Czech Republic in stretches. He's playing a very different role than what he's used to, so got to give him the benefit of the doubt there. And Zachary Risacher is proving why Atlanta made him the #1 overall pick last year. He might be a real leap candidate, maybe even a most improved player guy. I don't really like #1 picks getting most improved player. I was very vocal about Cade Cunningham not getting it last year, and I'm glad he didn't, and we're glad it went to Dyson, but Zach is not a traditional #1 pick, and so I think he could probably qualify for the award. I don't think that would be too ridiculous. If he can get that scoring total up to like 17 points a night, I mean, that would open up everything for Atlanta. He's showing poise and shooting touch against elite competition. He's certainly been the standout for the Atlanta Hawks in EuroBasket. So we'll be back with a full breakdown next episode of Risacher's performance against Deni Avdija in Israel, as well as Porzingis' upcoming matchup, because they are in action. They're playing every single day. So once again, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on Hawks Latest. We're going to be pumping out videos every single day, keeping you guys informed on the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. But once again, thank you guys for watching, and this has been Hawks Latest. I'll see you guys next time.